Super excited to announce the Law Firm Retreat Design Your Future being held this August 5th through 8th, 2026 in the Denver, Colorado area. Teaming up with Law Firm Architects, Power Strategy Group, we're going to be having an amazing opportunity for up to 15 firms to work on the business, not in the business. Find out more at powerstrategygroup.com.
The size of your firm is a choice. And I don't care if you're one person or you're 500 people. And there are a whole host of trade-offs with any one of 1 to 500. Like there are definite trade-offs. Okay. The thing that where people I have found are the happiest are the ones who are intentional about what they are. And so there are people who accidentally grow large firms and do not find themselves very happy. They do not find themselves profitable. They do not find the work meaningful, and they grow to resent what it is that they have in fact built. And that is a more common narrative I have found.
Hey everyone, this is Ruby Powers, your host of Power Up Your Practice. Really excited to have Ryan McKeen here on today's episode. We've known each other for a while, I think, but we finally bumped into each other in person at the client experience, the CX conference summit of case status back in Charleston, South Carolina. And really glad that we got to connect. Always been very impressed by you, Ryan. You're doing lots of different really cool things. And your title, I think on LinkedIn says former enterprise rent-a-car employee, trial attorney with $100 million jury verdict, and part-time adjunct law professor with Era LLC, focusing on coaching, consulting, law firm vision, systems, and growth. And anyway, welcome to the show, Ryan. I'm excited to talk with you today.
Ruby, thank you so much for having me. I'm a big fan of your podcast, and I think one of the only people to get to see a live episode of it. So we not only connected in South Carolina, the next week we were connecting in Salt Lake City. So
that's right.
In the wildlife of fall conference season.
That's true. It was like we were at, I think, okay, this sounds bad. We were at a bar with other people talking, and then it was like, wait a minute, are you going to be in Salt Lake next week? And they're like, yeah. And then it was like, oh, okay, well, we'll just keep the conversation going. And didn't feel as much pressure that we had to cover everything right then. But, you you have to capture the moment when you get together. And, I think I had read parts of your story in the Tiger Tactics book, and I just I don't know, I don't really remember when I first heard about you. So I'm just what for those who haven't heard about you or don't know you, but maybe they probably do, or I guess let other people know, give us a little bit of background about yourself and what you're up to.
Yeah, I'm Ryan McKeen, and I have had I've worn many different hats in my career. I'm the first person in my family to go to college. I graduate law school, and all I want to do is really help individuals. So I work in a general practice firm, East Hartford, Connecticut, and I learn how to practice law. I literally practice like bus law, where by that I mean people got off the bus, which was the bus stop in front of our office, and they walked in, and I was the young lawyer in the group, and they would walk into my office. So I dealt with all of life's problems. I mean, arrest, collections, evictions. I had a number of cases where people went to the bathroom and peed in places that they should not. And I was just doing all of life's things, probate cases, divorces. But what I really began to really fall in love with was personal injury cases. And right about the same time, I was really influenced by really two people. One was Sam Glover at Lawyerist, and two was Carolyn Elephant. And this notion, and Ernie the attorney, and the notion that we could have a cloud-based practice and practice paperless, which was just wild way back in 2010. It seemed like a very different world that we inhabit right now. And so in 2012, I was at a firm that was very traditional. They're traditional to this day in terms of how they do things, and it has served them for 70 years. But I realized, really inspired by those folks to go out on my own and start my own practice and start a paperless practice and use Clio way back in. I used Clio so long that the person who sold it to me was Jack Newton,
No
and
way.
I mean, this is like 2010. I mean,
Wow.
of all things, very different company now. Uh, and what happened is over the period of time, I really struggled to run a business. Like, so I think the first 10 years of my career are spent really learning how to become a lawyer. The next 10 years are really spent learning how to run a business because, like so many other solos, like I'm out there working all these hours, not making money. It really just felt like everybody was mad at me. And that wasn't a way that I could live. And so I just remember one night going for a walk and I was listening to some podcast and I cannot remember the podcast, but the guest said, you know, if you're ever going to actually succeed, you have to be able to leverage the time and talent of others. And I was
Mm,
like, no kidding. Like
Eureka.
this is not what I'm doing, right? Like I am living the solo advice dream of keep your overhead low, and I'm
Mhm.
robbing myself of money
Yeah.
and opportunity. So I get really serious about learning how to run a business, and I joined the Rosen Institute by Lee Rosen, another one of the voices that was really influential to me. And I start learning everything I can about how to actually run and build a law firm. And it works. That's the short end of the story. I end up building my firm up to 40 people. We end up having $100 million jury verdict, by the way, which is still up on appeal. It's been we had the verdict 3 years ago, so I have not been paid on it. Fingers crossed
Oh,
for my client
oh,
there. But I build it up to 40 people and really build a machine. We went on Filevine in 2017. Automation, AI, all the various things that one can have in a very tech forward practice, and ultimately get into a business dispute that's ongoing with my former partner, and decide I had my Jerry Maguire moment where I'm like, I'm out of here. Who's coming with me? And the people who came with me were Brittany, Allison, Marissa, and Pam, all of us from Connecticut trial firm. We formed Best Era. And I really had the opportunity to walk away from my practice. And I still practice. I still have a very small personal injury law firm where I handle just a small number of cases. And almost all my time is spent at this point consulting and doing work with Best Era. And I really get to think about, what do I want to do with the next 10 years of my career? I'm in a place financially, and I'm like, I don't think I want to run a law firm for the next 10 years of my career. And so I become really interested in the idea of teaching, which is really essentially what I do in my consulting work or when I speak or at UConn Law. And so this is really my third era, and I really do think it is my best.
um, my daughter was avoiding studying last night, and it was like 11:30, and I walked into her bedroom, and then she was in her bathroom, and she was like watching something like TikTok, and she was cleaning combs or something. And I was like, "What are you doing?" And she's like, "I'm living my 2026 era," or something like that. And I was like, and I was thinking about you because of the era, and I was thinking about Taylor Swift, and I was like, okay, are we already into like the 2026 era? Okay, we're still a couple of weeks away, but I was just like, you're living your best life. Okay, that's great. And we have our phases, we have our we're, you know, I think you can do everything, but you can't do it all at the same time. And I have to constantly remember that. But I love that for you, and I think that's really inspirational for those listening. Because um, I think our careers sort of ebb and flow, and we sort of we learn about more about ourselves and what we want, and there's lots of changes going on. Like AI and the transformation impact on practice of law. I just saw a LinkedIn headline saying like a lot of 40 somethings are going back to school to retool themselves for careers. And I don't know, they're just that's great that you've figured out what where you want to be. And I think so, and that you've decided to just still practice, but have like the practice that you want, and focus more on the consulting and Best Era. What is, tell for those who might not know more, what is Best Era, and give us a little bit more about like what services and what you're up to there.
Yeah, so really the way in which we think ourselves, like I don't want to grow another 40-person company or 50 or 100-person company or something like that which actually without constraint might be the thing that happens. Like it's just like I have a go mode and I don't do things small, right? But with this company, we very specifically set goals for ourselves. And it was like, we want to be able to do this at scale in a way. So more of a one-to-many model. And as we started to unpack it, and like basically like there's one-to-many models that we have. And then we do really intense bespoke consulting where we dig down deep with firms and really work with them on projects that they have or on just on a subscription basis because they're going through some transition and they need us. But we take on a very small number of clients in that regard because I don't want to grow a team where I'm just hiring people and who haven't done it and I'm managing. It's like I really love doing the work. But so we view ourselves as really an educational company that has a consulting arm. And so our very first project was actually we built a community on Slack where we have all sorts of members from around the world. And we made it $1 a day. And we're on there, we're given answers, like it's not bots, it's really my team. And we do office hours and we bring in ask me anything experts of all different things. We've had people from financial experts to longevity doctors to marketers. I mean, whatever the feeling is that the community wants or needs, and we do office hours there. We've also put on events. We've developed online courses. We've written the way, and we also launched our Para Era. And you met Marissa down in Charleston. And one of the big challenges that we had as we grew the firm was actually training and up-leveling our paralegals. We found that our very best hires were people who we hired for attitude and not for experience. But there's a training component that has to go along with that. So we found that need. We brought Marissa, who is really our best training paralegal, over from the firm. And we said, okay, we're going to go into paralegal training with specific focus on personal injury, but not exclusively, and help firms in that way.
That's that's awesome. Yeah, I have that situation too, where I have some people that sort of hop around between the two companies, between the law firm and the Power Strategy Group. But that's so great to, I think from what people need is like community. They need to be able to have accessibility to answer questions. They need the education component. Like you really, people learn so many different ways, by doing, by hearing, by watching, all of these different things. I think that's what people need, that different modes of mentorship and resources. So that's awesome.
And I got the pull from my firm. I mean, I was just really lucky. The people who did follow me out the door with my Jerry Maguire moment. We have Brittany Green, I think you met at Lex Summit. Brittany was our marketing director at Connecticut Trial Firm. So she assists firms with marketing and growing. Like we don't sell SEO. We really work with them on higher level strategy, connect them with vendors, monitor results, and help them dial in, get more clients that they want. We have Allison, who was our chief operating officer and also handled our finance. So she's very practical, very good at operational things. And you have me, who was doing whatever it is that I do. And I add what I add, but it was like those sort of core competencies that we were able to bring together, and we have fun.
So I have a question, like when you purposely don't grow something, like how do you keep the firm to the size that you want it to be? Because I feel like, I don't know, I just feel like sometimes it's like most people are in like grow or just keep doing it and keep adding or making it bigger mode. But if you like purposely keep it at a size because you want it to do, I don't know, you practice law, you want to stay relevant, you want to have good context to the consulting, or you want to keep
Yep.
in that space. Like, how do you keep that sort of that size that you want?
Great question, because the size of your firm is a choice. And I don't care if you're one person or you're 500 people. And there are a host of trade-offs with any one of 1 to 500. Like there
Yeah.
are just there are definite trade-offs, okay? Um the thing that where people I have found are the happiest are the ones who are intentional about what they are. And so there are people who accidentally grow large firms and do not find themselves very happy. They do not find themselves profitable.
Yeah.
They do not find the work meaningful, and they grow to resent what it is that they have in fact built. And that is a more common narrative I have found than I think I would have expected when I sat out on this journey. So, when we sit down and we do, we the way is like modified EOS, and instead of a 10-year vision, we have a 5-year destination, right? And so part of our 5-year destination is like, we don't want to grow our team beyond 10 people. Like we have people to add. We know we have people to add, and we're going to
Mhm.
add them in 5 years. And we want to help 12,500 firms. Like that's a minimum of 12,500 firms, which is really just 25,000 over 10 years, but we divided it by two, so we got 12,500.
Okay,
And
that makes
and
sense. We got the
and
math.
we can't reasonably achieve that with working one-on-one with everybody the way we want to work, and the value that we want to provide. So what we do is we limit the clients that we take on. We are very specific in the work and the clients that we work with and when we can work with them. And sometimes it means, fundamentally, it means saying no. It means, okay, I'd like to work with you. However, I work with 5 clients at a time. All 5 slots are full. And we can revisit this in March, right? And when you can get that demand and you can be specific on it, it allows you to be selective. It allows you to be selective in what you charge, and it allows you to be selective in who you take on. And it's not just like everybody calls us, we take the work. It gets back, Ruby, to being intentional. And also knowing that, and look, I've worked with firms that are much larger than the ones I grew. And I can tell you that more people and more gross revenue does not equal more net profit.
Hmm.
Not always. If it's
Exactly.
done really well, it can. It can equal
Hmm.
massive. But you can see a lot of firms that are, 100 plus people doing 1% margins, on 30-40 million dollars. And it's like, what are you doing? Like, what are you doing there? So, people, when you go out to events, they love to talk about how big their team is or what their gross revenue is. And really, to me, those numbers are completely meaningless.
Yeah, I agree. Like, I think we need to change the culture of like, it's not just like how many people you have or whatever figure firm you have. Like, it's really more about the quality of life, the profitability, and your ability to do really what you want to do. Like, if you feel like it's too big to fail and you have to feed the machine. I felt like that a lot in the past,
Yeah.
and then like, I can't go on vacation because I have to keep bringing in business to make this thing run and pay. And that's why I think when people know it's just how to pull the levers and to keep it, that's why I'm also selective with the word grow, because what I've realized is not everybody wants to grow, like, and I used to think at some point in my life, oh, they don't want to grow because they don't know how to grow. But I think some people just want something more sustainable for whatever reason, whatever it may be, to do, this other thing, or to have more quality of life, or more balance, or whatever it may be. They still want to be able to do the business, but they want it to be manageable. But in me, maybe times they just probably have the right secret sauce and they're figuring out that balance of the profitability as well. This episode is sponsored by Candle AI, the legal email assistant that helps legal teams spend less time on client emails. You heard me right, spending less time on emails. Candle AI works with both Gmail and Outlook, so you don't have to learn a new tool. And then it connects with popular case management systems like Clio, Filevine, INSSoom, and more to come. It instantly shows you your case and the client details the moment you open a client email and right inside your inbox. And then that means less context switching and time spent jumping to different tabs to figure out what you need to respond. Candle can also draft context-aware responses to client emails and makes it easy to create, edit, and manage your email templates. If you want to save time and take back control of your inbox, check out Candle AI. I highly suggest it.
One of the things when you mentioned like the Taylor Swift portion of our name, and that is completely true. Brittany is a huge Taylor Swift fan, and we're like, well, we were our firm's marketing team, her and I, and it was like, well, what's in the zeitgeist, right? And it was the Eras tour, so we're like, okay, and you love Taylor, and it fits, right? But then we're like, well, what do the clients we want to work with want, right? And I can teach you how to grow a firm. I can teach you how to grow a 8-figure firm. I cap out under 9 figures, but I can teach you 8. I can get you into the 8s. And I can help you do different things. But if who the people we really want to work with, the thing that they want is they want something better than what they have. And maybe it's more time off, maybe it's more money, maybe it's less stress, maybe it's an office. Like they're coming to us because they want something better. And from a marketing perspective, better just doesn't work. It sounds like butter. So we were like, well, how about best? It's a shorter domain, right? Like better era. That's why we got our name. But part of it is, I think for me, comes from a sense of maturity where it's sort of like, okay, I've been there and I've done that, and I understand what comes along with that, and I know I could flip this switch and do it here. I could do it with Best Era if I so chose. But it's being purposeful in like, this is not the thing that is going to actually fill my bucket. It's not the thing that I want right now. And who knows? Ruby, maybe in 3 years it is a thing that I want, and I can change that, right? But if you're out there and you're listening to it and you really take anything, like bigger isn't necessarily better. Um, smaller isn't necessarily better either. And the real goal for you, I think, is to be intentional about what you are. And when you get clear on the vision point part of it, I mean, most happiest people, the most successful people I know in any of these spaces are the ones who have the clearest vision of what it is that they want. They know my team's going to be 75 people. I'm going to be doing 25 million in revenue. We're going to have offices here, here, and here. And they're very, very specific and clear on where it is that they want to go. The people who are the least happy, in my opinion, are the ones where things happen to them and they're reactive.
I was teaching mission, vision, and goals at a retreat a couple of weeks ago in Mexico. And my colleague, my co-panelist, I saw this quote from Brene Brown about, it was like, mission clarity is mission critical. And I don't know, I just feel like that resonates about being able, know the more you know what your goals are, your clarity, the more you have it as your North Star and your guide. And I think whenever you feel a little lost, it's probably because you either haven't gone back to review your goals, or you're in this transition phase where you're trying to reevaluate, do you really want what you thought you wanted, and what do you really want? And I think that's what's really great about life in general. I think if we give ourselves the grace to reevaluate and to reimagine who we are, and to grow and change, and just like your eras you're talking about, like, okay, I've done that. Do I want more of that, or do I want something else? Like, I want something better, but I don't, I'm going to define what better is, and go in that direction.
And when I teach my students as well, I say, like, don't dream the dreams of other people. Like like your dream is okay. Like that could be your gift to the world. And it could be that your law firm is very old school, and it could be that you serve a specific community and you serve them well. Or it could be that you're like, hey, I'm going to open the jazz club law firm. Like I give them permission to sort of dream without like that constraint. And I think it's important because what I think happens is people try to hold on. And that holding on to something of what they thought they wanted,
Yeah.
or because that they can. And look, I sometimes think about this because probably if my brother-in-law is a really nice guy, and if he's got an MBA from top school, and if he were talking to me, just be like, Ryan, you got $100 million jury verdict, just keep doing that, just keep going, like, right, I'm gonna make good money, I'm gonna, but it's like I did that felt great, and I'm okay with not doing that again. And again, maybe in 5 years, I'm like, this is the case, and I'm going to take it to trial again, and I'm going to do it because I'm invigorated. But allowing yourself that grace in that space and being intentional and saying yes to the right things, no to the wrong things, that's when you can really, I think, find happiness and profit and success, because you have clarity surrounding what that actually is, and you know whether or not you're there.
I love that, and I think that was a really good nugget. So we both have that in common. We're both adjunct professors teaching law practice management courses at law schools. And how did you get into that? And like maybe you share some of your antidotes of how that's been and your takeaways.
That's been awesome. That's been really one of the things that has brought me the most happiness in my whole career doing, and it is such an honor and joy to do. And how I got into it is really pretty interesting, and there's a lesson in there for all of you out there. Look, I went to a tier four law school. I went to a state school for undergraduate. I worked at firms that nobody heard of. I started firms. I done all these things, right? But what I was doing was I was sharing my story on LinkedIn, and I was sharing entrepreneurial stuff that I share, and just stories, advice, like, well, just the stuff. Uh, and unbeknownst to me, one of my readers was Ebony Nelson, who is the dean of UConn Law School. And Dean Nelson, Ebony, slides into my DMs and she says, "Hey, would you want to have dinner?" And I was like, "You're the dean of the law school, local law school. Of course, I would have dinner with you." And so we talk and we hit it off. And she's like, "I really think that this is an offering that UConn should have. Would you be willing to teach it as an adjunct?" And I was like, "Really?" And I was like, "Look." I would love to teach it, but I have just one ask of you. And she's like, "What is it?" I was like, "That I can teach it the way I want to teach it. Like I'm not gonna have I'm gonna have some freedom to teach this thing the way I want to teach it." She's like, "100% go." And so I started, that was in like February of that year, and I started my class up in August. So it's been through the support of Molly Land, who's assistant dean at UConn, and Ebony Nelson, that they have allowed this course to happen. They've given me the the free tools to go and build and create and do all sorts of fun things for the students, and I just love it. It's such an honor and privilege to be able to do.
I agree with you. I've been teaching it for 6 semesters. I'm about to start the seventh semester at a different law school. I'm hoping to alternate between a couple of them in town. I'm blessed to live in a city that has 3 law schools. I mean, not everybody has that opportunity, but and I think it was always on my like long-term goals, be a professor. But this I'm just so passionate about the law practice management and related topics. But I love the joy of just learning from them too and seeing what they're seeing. I love polling them. I'm like, okay, what's it like at your firm? And have you heard about this? And I remember when I first talked about ChatGPT a few years ago, and just the evolution of the tech class or tech classes. And I also love giving them permission, like you said, to like I say, like, I don't want to get myself in trouble, but you don't have to be a practicing attorney. Like I want you to have multiple revenue streams. Like I give them a lot of like wisdom.
Yep. Yep.
And I want you to have goals and don't just be like, oh, I have to graduate and pass the bar and get a job. Like think beyond that. Like what else do you want to do? Because a lot of us just get on autopilot.
That's right. And this semester I taught the book Unreasonable Hospitality by Will Guidara. And actually Will Guidara actually spoke to my
I
on
thought
Zoom
about
for a
you
half
because I
hour.
knew you were going to mention that. I had it. I have it in my little libraries over here.
So he came in on Zoom for a half hour, which was amazing
Nice.
and
Wow.
incredibly generous. And but I began the semester with the question like he had, which is like, what is it that you would attempt to do if you knew you could not fail? And I gave them all yellow cocktail napkins. And I said, just you don't have to. You're not sharing it with me, but I'm just. What would you do, right?
Yeah.
And that exercise like stunned them. Like nobody had ever. They just were doing the next thing. It made them pause. And I did it again at the second to last class, which is the one Will was speaking at, and I handed out the napkins again. I said, same thing. It's like you don't have to share, it's for you, right? The number of students who told me after class that they didn't write anything on the first one, but on the second one, they had something. And I was
Oh.
like, my work is done. Like I like that, like, but
Mic drop.
it's getting them to think expansively and differently, and I think in a way that is so necessary to the future of law. Because look, Ruby, it's just it's changing, it's changing fast, it's going to change more, and the skills that are necessary and their talents that they all have and their ability to bring different things to the table are different. I mean, I graduated in 2005, and in 2005, a lot of your value could be based upon your knowledge of the blue book and and
Mhm.
and and, and Boolean searches and things like that are not so valuable here in 2026 almost. But the skills that they have to be creative, their tech skills, their multidisciplinary problem solving skills, their listening skills, their leadership skills, all super valuable.
Honestly, I think this course is so valuable. And I feel like all this pressure, I think I've said this before, like just because I think for some students, this is the first time they're hearing some of these concepts and their minds are being expanded and like what the practice really looks like. And everything from operations to marketing to hiring to technology, the bedside manner, if you will, like on how to treat your clients and how to communicate. There's a lot that I try to pack into my course. And while I've been reaching out to professors who teach it because this course is not taught in, I don't know, what do you think? Maybe five or six, I don't know, how many law schools do you think have it? I don't think it's that many,
It's
unfortunately. There
it
might be something different, but
It's not very many. There aren't others out there. Like
yeah.
that's why when I found your book, I was like, "Oh, this is great! Like this is an actual textbook that I can assign." But no, it's not, and it sort of makes sense because most people who go to law school, who are at law schools and teach at law schools, like they have a very incredibly narrow career track, even within narrow career tracks of law, right? They go to at least around here, they go to an Ivy League law school, they clerk for some federal appellate court.
Mhm.
Maybe they do a year at a bigger firm and then they're in academia, right? Like that's a very small subset of people. And these are all folks who are bright and kind and smart, not all, but a lot of them. But like they're very capable people, but they never ever have to make a payroll. They never ever have to deal with angry clients. They never have to deal with the IRS or deal with partners or deal with employees or deal with how to generate business, right? And when you look at like where a lot of lawyers practice, like the ABA has statistics, and it's too late in the day for me to remember it, but a large number of lawyers out there work for themselves or in very small firms, right? And you start looking at the ethical problems that these lawyers run into, they're business problems. They're like, they don't have a bookkeeper. They don't answer their phones. They don't, forget unreasonable hospitality. They don't have any hospitality. And so like the number of ethical
Yeah.
complaints on things surrounding competence are far lower than what I would lump into the ethical complaints on things surrounding business. So like, why aren't we leaning into that? Because I firmly believe that the work lawyers do is very important and will continue to remain important, but we need to take care of ourselves and we need to make the profession better. And all the meditating and forest bathing and yoga, it doesn't fix things if you come back and your books aren't balanced and you're wondering how to make payroll and you're don't know where your next client is going to come from. And the truth is that those are, like any other thing, solvable problems. Like people have done it. And how do you do it? How do you create those processes? How do you engage? How do you operate, in a way that's best for you and your team and your firm and your community? It takes some work, but it's learnable. And it's not learnable by the people who mostly teach law school. So I think it's not teachable by them. They haven't done it.
No, I completely get that. And I think that's why it's awesome that law schools are open to having adjuncts and just sort of like leaning into their experience and their passion. Because we all know that we're not really making bank as an adjunct. I mean, it's really more of a passion project of like really just giving back. And I don't know, I just enjoy the energy and just giving the conversations. And like even today when I was at lunch, an attorney came up to me and he was like, "You were my professor, and I'm at a criminal defense attorney now." And I was just like, "Oh, like, we'll have to have lunch. Here's my card, and oh, it's awesome. It just warms my heart. It's like I'm sowing seeds, and in being there and helping change minds and being a resource and a mentor. But I want to say something to you, and I didn't tell you this before, but you put me in touch with Jason Epstein out in Seattle, and about because he's going to use my book for his Seattle University School of Law course. And then I said, "Hey, how did you get into teaching?" And he's like, "Well, I saw that Ryan was teaching it, and I was like, I'm just going to pitch it to my law school." And then I was like, "Brilliant!" So it's like, and then he had me thinking. I was like, wait a minute, what if we just like mobilize anybody who really is, into this to like go pitch the course to their local law school and, to combine, I mean, I was just thinking like between my book and then we could also like share guest speakers because I love having guest speakers. I know you do as well. That's awesome. You're able to get, Will and other authors and things like that. And I mean, I think we could help create like a movement in a way, like trying to get some more of this instruction in the law schools. I'm just concerned there's so much change happening in the practice of law, not even, let alone all the AI change, but I feel like we need some of that real world practical experience and wisdom in the law schools.
Ruby, that would be amazing. And I agree with you completely. And like my first semester I taught it, I was just learning all sorts of things, right? But this semester I really made a point to build resources, to create a transcript, to record my lectures with Plot AI, to build summaries, to build calculators. Like I was using Gemini to build HTML calculators for my
Cool.
class, and just simple apps I was building for
Yeah.
them. And I really up leveled just the amount of, and part of it is like some of it's stuff that I used on my consulting side that I built that I put out into the class, and others of it's like I built for the class and I now use for consulting. So it frees it up. But I put a lot of time into it. In fact, I shared all of that with Jason. So he's got all my
Oh,
notes, all
that's
my
great.
lesson plans, all my apps for, for whatever it's worth. It's my take on these things. But you know what? I think that there's something to it. And what you said is really, I think, important for law schools and law students and the profession as a whole to actually teach this and to engage in it and to seek out those who do it. And I actually think, to the extent I've had any success, a lot of it is sort of like the Jason Epstein thing, where people look at me and they're like, "Hey, that guy can do it. I too can
Yeah.
do that."
You
So
inspired another
I,
profession.
I'm so average that I just inspire others to achieve. Like, hey, he can get $100 million trial, but I can't. And you know what? That's true. You can. If you're out there, you can. You too can be teaching at a law school that you may not have even been able to get into. Um, so but look, it's a lot of work. It's a lot of learning, knowledge, energy, and purpose. So.
Yeah, but I love the idea of the up leveling, and I agree with you. I think the more you get into it, the more you can build and improve. Are you feeling overwhelmed by all the different things you have to do to run a law firm? Well, you're not alone. So many law firm owners are in the same boat. That's where Staffy steps in. More than 90 firms, just like yours, are leaning on their bilingual virtual staff for legal, administrative, marketing, and client-facing work, plus their full HR support. I currently have 11 team members with Staffy across my own firm and Power Strategy Group, and it's been a total game changer. Schedule a free initial consultation at staffy.cc, that's STAFI.cc, and use the code RUBY, RUBY, for $500 off. Well, I don't know where the time went, but I still have a couple rapid questions for you as we close up. So what is your favorite board game?
Trivial Pursuit.
Okay. Do you have like a certain theme of one, or just the regular game?
Just the regular one. I mean, it's just like modern board games. Like my kids have some, like this aviary game, like too many rules, like too complicated. Like it's just like I'm supposed to unwind. And it's like this is like this incredibly involved, elaborate board game. And I just want to, like, Trivial Pursuit, like, you can like, it's the kind of thing you go to a college bar and you just play. Like, it's just, the answer or you don't, right?
Yeah.
Super easy. So
Well, I'll just pro tip, usually just watching a YouTube video on how to play the game is usually a good way. But otherwise, you're right. It is overwhelming to learn a new game. Okay, what would you consider your superpower?
my biggest superpower is I really don't have a fear of failure. Like that's that more than anything. Like it's like, well, people are like, how did you get Will Guidera to speak in your class? And I'm like, I emailed him. like that's what I did. You know who else I emailed who responded to me? I emailed Mark Cuban.
Oh yeah, and
I didn't ask him. I didn't ask him to speak, but I asked him for, like, what would you tell law students? But the point is like I don't fear Will Guidera saying I'm not going to speak to your class or putting me in his junk mail or whatever. Like I don't fear that because I have nothing to lose and I had everything to gain, and my students did too by taking that small risk.
Well, it's like your napkin exercise, I guess. You live it, so that's awesome. What habit do you believe contributes to your success?
Curiosity. Like I have I'm a very curious mind. I love learning things. I love learning new things. It's why I'm particularly invigorated with the legal space at the moment because there is so much going on. There is so much to learn. Like it just fills my cup there. And so I would say curiosity.
Awesome. What is a favorite book or podcast that you'd love to share with the audience?
I really love Stephen King's November 22nd, 1963. Um, that's probably my favorite book. I think Stephen King's an amazing author. I think it's just a great question. Like most Stephen King books, he could use an editor and cut out probably about 200 pages. But I think the story is just very good. And the premise, for those who don't know it, it's about a time traveler going back in time to stop the assassination of John F. Kennedy. And, like, what would you do? And anyhow, it's fraught with human insight, a little bit of fantasy, history, and I think it combines all the things just really well written.
Awesome. I haven't been told that book yet on that question, so I'll have to check it out. So Ryan, how can people stay connected with you and find you?
You can find me on LinkedIn. As long as you're not a bot trying to pitch me, slide into my DMs and I will answer you. That is really good. If you are a bot trying to pitch me, or you behave like a bot trying to pitch me, you will get probably one of two things from me. If I'm feeling just if I'm on my phone, you're probably going to get, sorry, I already have a girlfriend. So that's my ability to fight LinkedIn spam. And if I'm on my keyboard and I have access to Text Expander, I will commonly drop in a baked Alaska recipe that you didn't ask for. But if you're really out there and you're like the dean of some law school and you're listening to it and you want me to come in and guess,
And you're
I
not a
will
bot.
respond to you, and I will not just say I already have a girlfriend.
Or some amazing recipe.
Or some amazing recipe. And I am both married. I have been married for 23 years, and I do not cook baked Alaska, but I also am not interested in buying leads. So
That's funny. I've been married 23 years too. 2002. Yeah. All right. Well, congratulations. Well, Ryan, that was fun. I always enjoy our conversations, whether brief or we have an opportunity like this a little bit longer. I'm glad we bumped into each other in person in South Carolina and again in Utah, and I'm sure we'll keep seeing each other in the future. But I'm really glad we're on this like movement of getting this in the law schools, and where we can have a big impression on people. And I think even just our conversation was enlightening too for those wherever they are along their practice, just being willing to be curious, not afraid to fail, to find their best era and just keep learning and improving. So really appreciate it, Ryan, and I'm sure I'll see you around. Thanks everyone for listening, and we'll see you next time. Thank you for tuning in to Power Up Your Practice. I'm Ruby Powers, and it's been a pleasure sharing this time with you. We love your reviews, so if you enjoyed today's episode, please leave us one and share this podcast with someone else so that they can know what you've been learning on our show. And make sure to check out the Power Up Your Practice book. It's available in paperback and Kindle on Amazon. It's packed with 25 chapters of strategies to grow and streamline your firm. And we also have the free Power Hub community on School to keep the conversation going in between the episodes. So make sure to keep powering up your practice, and we'll see you next time.